When Russia invaded Ukraine, the people who run the Tabletochki Charitable Foundation got to safety and then got back to work.
I love the phrase that Ukraine is the capital of brave people. It's been circulating in the international media right now, and it is 1000% true.
That's Svitlana Pugach. She's the director for strategic partnerships at Tabletochki. At the outset of the invasion, she spent 8 days in her sister's basement, a makeshift bomb shelter. Throughout that time, and in the weeks after, she and her colleagues focused on the people their foundation serves, Ukrainian kids with cancer. They realized many of their patients could no longer be treated in their home country. Hospitals were overwhelmed and targeted in attacks. They began looking to other countries. St. Jude Children's Research Hospital and ALSAC, its fundraising and awareness organization, played a coordinating role in what's become known as Safer Ukraine, using partnerships with foundations and hospitals in Europe. Since the war began, St. Jude and Tabletochki, with partners around the world, have helped ensure the continued care of more than 1,000 children. Some have come all the way to the United States to be treated at St. Jude. I'm Geoffrey Redick, and I make audio stories about the patients and supporters of St. Jude. I got to talk with Svitlana Pugach and Olga Kudinenko, the founder of Tabletochki, about their foundation and their plans for the future once the war is over. Olga started the foundation a decade ago when the country of Ukraine had been independent for only 20 years after the fall of the Soviet Union. Olga says that she started with a simple plan to provide medication for pediatric cancer patients. And that's where the name of the foundation came from.
It means tablets for kids in a nice way. So for dog, this is doggy, and for tablets, it's tabletochki. I never had an idea that someday I would need to translate the name of foundation in English. That's why I have our name for the foundation.
Tabletochki itself as an initiative started from, Olga buying medicine, buying tablets that are not registered in Ukraine, were not available at the moment 10 years ago. And she started her volunteer work at the time, buying this unregistered medication and bringing it from abroad, from her, vacation trips and business trips, and spreading the word all over Ukrainian social media that, look, people, helping is really easy. Just grab a pack of medicine, and this will mean the world, to families where children are fighting cancer.
Olga, how did people respond to that? When you put that call out on social media, did a lot of people do that same thing?
Yes, exactly. The first month I fundraised $1,000. I felt myself like a superhero. I helped everyone kid in Ukraine to survive and to fight cancer. Then I found out how much work needs to be done, and my friends started to donate $10, $15, $20, and we gathered a community of truly supporters for Ukrainian kids in Ukraine. We were unique that it was Ukrainian foundation which worked locally and fundraised locally, and we were like number one in the country, and we are number one in the country.
I've been with the foundation for 5.5 years, but truly I've been with the foundation, I think, like since day 2, if not 1, as the volunteer fundraiser, just the ambassador of Tabletochki everywhere I went. So for me personally, what Olga was speaking about on social media and what Tabletochki were doing at that moment, even like as a small volunteer initiative that just started, it resonated with me a lot because the message was, let's fight childhood cancer together. Let's all be a part of a child's victory. And that was absolutely new and inspiring and appealing for most people.
It seems like each of you saw that the way that people talked about this in Ukraine was, it has to be this way. Kids with cancer, maybe we'll try to help them and maybe they won't survive, but there's nothing we can do. And each of you heard that and said, no.
Yeah, exactly. When I started I didn't know anything about childhood cancer, about charities, how to work in NGO. So I was like a blank paper. So I started to Google what people do in the world to help kids with cancer. And I found out amazing, legendary story of Danny Thomas and St. Jude. And when I read the whole story, I started to learn by heart all website and communication that St. Jude and ALSAC are doing. And it was like my teacher, coach, mentor, and imaginary friend to learn how to implement this in Ukraine. And it was totally new experience for Ukrainian people, how to help and how to communicate. Because lots of communications there were like blaming people that they were drinking coffees in cafes and not helping others. But I believe that you can drink your coffee and you can help to others. Like, it's not a competition what to choose. You have to do both. You have to care about yourself, and you will have ability to help others.
Tell me what initiatives Tabletochki does now. It's more than just medication now.
Our work is focused on 4 main directions. The first one is directed help. It means we support families who has children with cancer all the way to the win or unfortunately to the loss. The second one is helping hospitals with infrastructure, like buying medical equipment, with medical supplies, renovations, so everything that concerns the building. The third one is educational program for doctors and nurses in pediatric oncology. We were the first one and the only one educational program for specialists who treat kids. Because at some point we found out that medical equipment and pills are not enough to beat the cancer. And the last one, but not the least, is advocacy campaigns for protecting kids' rights. Because in Ukraine, sometimes basic human rights might be violated. For example, today I just remembered the story that in 2015, one of our wards, his name was Pasha, he was dying from cancer and he was alone in intensive care unit. And his parents were not allowed to visit him. So he basically spent his last days without his mom, and he was only 5. I mean, at any age, you need to have close person near you in any circumstances. But when you're a little boy and you're dying, I cannot imagine parent who know that his child cannot make it through, and the kid. So we started a huge advocating campaign, which took us 2 years to be successful. We called it Open Doors to ICUs, and we protected rights of everyone in Ukraine, kids and adults, not to be alone in ICUs. So close relatives like parents, brothers or sisters, wives and husbands could be near their loved ones in ICUs.
Tabletochki in Ukraine is like ALSAC. We are raising awareness, we're doing the fundraising, but also Tabletochki in Ukraine is like St. Jude because we have our own patient care programs, child life programs, psychosocial support, palliative care programs, because children with cancer in Ukraine are treated in state hospitals. And frankly speaking, those are sort of museums of Soviet infrastructure. And also the doctor-patient communication culture is very conservative. Doctors are treating the body but not the person. And that is why we saw the need to establish our own programs of patient care. And we are introducing these programs to doctors and also implementing these programs and working on the opportunity for our professionals, for our experts from the foundation to enter the hospitals and to be on the hospital teams to provide children with cancer with the full scope of support and care and services, right? So if there is a trained oncopsychologist from Tabletochki in the hospital with the hospital team, the doctor gets support from that also, because all the hard talk with the patient can be supported by the psychologist.
Your foundation is changing the way Ukrainians think about philanthropy. It's changing the hospital culture for doctors. It's changing the approaches to patient care. You just mentioned that the way that you advocate affects adults in ICUs, not just children or kids with cancer. You have such a far-reaching effect now. how do you strategize about how to get from just providing some medication to this point now where you are so integral to how medical care is thought of or philanthropy is thought of in your country? That must have been an incredible journey to get to that bigger focus.
Yeah, it was a journey to Memphis in 2018. Svitlana and I were invited by ALSAC for a partners summit, and we saw St. Jude and experienced ALSAC work by ourselves for 5 days. We were so impressed, we were so inspired that we came back to Ukraine and we gathered a strategic session for our team, and we discussed what we can do in Ukraine to make this happen. And we had 2 ways of developing our work. The first one were to establish educational program for doctors, like residential programs. We don't have it in Ukraine yet. Or we can build a hospital. And the hospital were so incredible and ambitious idea that I was a bit scared. No, we cannot do the hospital. A year later, I was invited to Jordan to visit King Hussein Cancer Center. It was built 25 years ago on donations basis. And they are also partners of St. Jude. And their survival rate for kids in Jordan, the same as in St. Jude. And in Ukraine, survival rate for kids is only 50%. That means that 50% of all sick kids in Ukraine with cancer are dying. So literally, 5 out of 10 kids are dying with the cancer. I came back to my team and told, I don't know, will you support me or no, but we are going to make a hospital happen. So thanks God they supported me, because of course you cannot build a hospital all alone. So since 2020, we started to work on our project, Ukrainian Children Cancer Hospital of Cure and Care. We did a feasibility study to find out what we need to build, how much will it cost, how we can sustain it. We did a case for support, and we were just about to start our fundraising campaign, capital campaign for the hospital. On 15th of February this year, I received a first commitment for a 20 million gift out of 65 for the hospital. I was so happy because it was, International Childhood Cancer Day, and a week later, Russia invaded Ukraine. So those commitments are not available anymore because it was from Ukrainian donor, Ukrainian business, and all Ukrainian business are damaged and suffers right now. So we had a vision, strategic vision. We would like to create and to build Ukrainian Cancer Children Hospital for cure and care for Ukrainian kids. So we wish 8 out of 10 kids to survive a cancer, and then even better. I don't know how, but I do believe we will build it in Ukraine.
We had a plan for engaging Ukrainian community, Ukrainian people into this fundraising campaign, and creating this hospital. But right now we want to reach to the whole world, to see us, to see Ukrainian children, to see this hospital as the vision for the beacon of hope for the whole civil society of Ukraine and of the world that will save Ukrainian children.
Svitlana Pugach is the Director for Strategic Partnerships at Tabletochki Charitable Foundation in Ukraine. Olga Kudinenko is the founder and the chair of the board. Through Tabletochki, they have worked with St. Jude and ALSAC to help ensure the continued care of more than 1,000 children. To learn more about the global efforts of St. Jude and ALSAC, visit the website stjude.org/inspire. This conversation was edited by Grace Korzekwa Evans. Production help from Caleb Suggs and Andres Garcia. Louis Graham is the executive producer of St. Jude Inspire. I'm Geoffrey Redick. Thanks for listening.